Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hunt Lift Eat podcast. The boys are back for some late season recap. Perry and Kerri, what's going on?
I just realized our names rhyme.
I wonder how many times we're going to screw it up. Carter's going to be like, Perry, and I'll start answering.
Yeah. I don't know why that never hit me till now, but it just did. What's up, guys?
What's up, man? Back in the saddle once again.
Yeah,
man. It's good to see you
guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Made it through another year of the Hunt Lift Eat podcast. We're still afloat somehow.
It's hard to believe.
Never missed an episode. Still crushed it.
Yeah.
Another year. Here we go. That's a good call to action right here at the beginning. I hear that's a good thing that successful podcasts do. If you're a listener, new or long time, DM us a message on some episodes you'd like to hear, either guests that you would suggest or topics that you want covered or talked about, because we've got some depth on the team of folks who can come talk about anything and everything. And I'll reach out to anybody on Instagram. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
Dude, we've had some fantastic guests that just, slid into their DMs on the gram there, and like the one you and I did with old Get Sauced recently, yep. Carter. That was an awesome episode. So yeah, we hit it with some ideas
over winter break. We banked a ton of episodes. Big thanks to you two, and we've done some cool episodes. The last 3 episodes that have come out have been real cool, and the next 2 are awesome too. Not that they're all not cool, but Get Sauced was sick. That was a good episode, man. He's a good time, dude. And Kerri and I had the privilege of talking to our new buddy David from Sweden, which was a freaking riot, dude. That was a good time.
Yeah.
Like, that was hilarious.
Heck yeah, man. I was all about going to hunt in Sweden until I just got out of a stand and it's about 12 degrees, and I don't know anymore.
Well, David and I rethink some things. He wants to know when you and I are coming, Kerri, so
let's do it, man. Hey, ask him if he wears the mesh base layer. Have you guys seen that?
I have seen that. Is that a thing, Kerri? Have you worked with?
Dude, yeah. So, my stepdad, who's from the UK, he sent me something about it, and then I posted in our little chat group with the Southeast, and then Forrest came up and he's like, "Yeah, dude, like all the Finnish guys wear them, all these dudes that hang out in Scandinavia and Estonia and all these other places that are super cold, they swear by this mesh base layer. I mean, you look like you're going to like, I don't know, like an 80s discotheque or something when you wear it, but
you look like Sean Astin's character in 50 First Dates. The guy the list. But yeah, there must be some science to it. If Scandinavians are doing it, they probably know about the cold better than I do.
Yeah. Well, next time it's 12 degrees and I got to go sit in a tree stand, maybe I'll have some mesh underwear on to see how it goes.
I did see. We're not doing
awesome visual.
We're not doing Tuesday tips anymore, but I did see you're using a footrest in the ladder stand, which seems to make a lot of sense for heat dissipation, Kerri.
Oh, you talking about me? Yeah. That actually, I learned that from Barclay, who was one of our guests last summer. Because he posts a lot about gear and stuff like that, obviously being, Sitka and all that stuff and coming from the background he has. But yeah, he's very much into like cold weather, survival, survival period. But yeah, he talked about bringing like a piece of carpet or something for a stand. And I'm not bringing a big, heavy piece of carpet. They can get wet and get even heavier and all that stuff. So I had a little sit pad, man, a little Z-rest, whatever, maybe 12 inches long or something like that, 12 by 24 or whatever it is. And I'm like, dude, I can slide that on my stand and just give it a shot. And awesome. Like, I don't have insulated boots. I just throw a pair of socks over the top of my boots, and then I stand on that thing. And I mean, my toes still get a little bit cold, but my toes just get cold easily. But dude, so much better than just standing on the metal grate of my tree stand, man.
Yeah.
That's definitely a cold weather hunt thing for me now, is bringing that little pad.
That's a good one, man. Especially late season. We were just talking before we mash record. We're going to recap the season a little bit here for the 3 of us and maybe talk about some upcoming things. I got a cool trip coming up this weekend. But we still have a couple days left. I know our late season archery in my county runs to the end of the month. Rifle's done, but archery runs till the 31st. And Kerri, you've got the rest of the week to fill a couple tags.
Yep. I think Sunday or Monday it ends, but yeah, I got 2 tags left to fill.
Perry, are y'all
Nice.
done?
Yeah, we're done. North Carolina and Virginia, the 2 primary places I hunt, and the 2 places I hunted this year, they're both done. So my season is officially a wrap. Starting to think about next year though, so that's exciting. But yeah, it was a good season. It was relatively quiet for me, but yeah, we're all done now. I'm focused on other projects before turkey season rolls around. So
Yeah. Well, let's jump into it, man. Let's start with you, Perry. May have been quiet, but you sure had a lot to do.
I did. So yeah, so I don't know if you remember, Carter. I think I said on the podcast a couple years ago. It was early on. I think it was with Luke, and we were talking about some of these Western hunts, and kind of made a goal to myself to try at least to do a Western trip every year. And that had been the case for the past few years up until this season. And for me, the reason being that wasn't able to do a Western trip this year, and why my season was a little bit quiet, was we made the decision a while ago to move back to the mountains. Something I've talked about forever and been wanting to do for a long time, and the timing finally got right. So we went on a long search of trying to find the right place, the right piece of property, and long story short, this past summer we went under contract, and somewhere about, let's see, mid to early August, we wound up closing on a piece of property up in the mountains, and a lot of work to do up there on the house and the property itself. So that kind of forced my priorities to shift a little closer to home for this season. So I had a great season. All in all, had some really cool moments. Most of my hunting was spent at the family farm there in Virginia. It was exciting to close on this new piece of property, in August, right before, right when hunting season around the corner. Of course, I'd walked the property and been studying it on Onyx and all of this, and done a ton of kind of e-scouting for that. And so going into the season, I was super excited to hunt my own piece of property, the first piece of property that I've ever owned that I was able to hunt on. That became the focus for me, at least for the most part. So we, couple buddies came and helped me, and we wound up doing a little bit of doing some scouting. The property has what kind of used to be like a little clearing or something up in kind of the edge of the woods, and decided to turn that into a little food plot. So we did some September work, went in there and got it all mowed and sprayed and put in a little food plot. Was a little bit late in getting all that going up, but got that in there, put in a little pop-up blind, hung a ladder stand, and my first hunt on the property was in that little pop-up, and it was me and my son and my buddy that helped me do some of that work. And we didn't wind up killing anything that night, man, but having that first hunt on your own piece of dirt was a special moment. I spent a lot of time hunting with Evan this year, which is always a blast, on the family farm. And Luke actually was able to spend a fair bit of time back east this year. So got to hunt with Luke a lot this year, not out west like previous years, but back home in the places that we kind of grew up cutting our teeth in the whitetail woods. And so that was a good time as well. Got to meet Kerri for the first time in person this hunting season. We we'd talked on the phone and podcasts and, doing team interviews and such in the past, but hadn't actually met in person. So Kerri came down. We actually had a little thing where we took some new hunters out and got to show them the ropes. We did some kind of guiding for those guys on Luke's family farm. So those were kind of the highlights. I killed a few does. I mean, you know this, Carter, when you have the opportunity to take a new hunter, and it was a father and two sons. None of them had ever been hunting before. And I wound up spending most of my time with one of the boys who's, what were they, Kerri, 13,
14.
14?
Yeah.
So, young kids, but teenagers, capable of carrying their own stuff and all of that. We went through, all the basics and everything. But um, ultimately, he was able to kill two deer that trip, killed a doe and a buck, as did the other boy. And man, those are always special moments when you have the opportunity to introduce a new hunter to something that we love.
It's my new favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, I can agree, man. Like, I'm not like a super experienced hunter. I've only been doing it this is my 6th season, but doing the kind of guiding route, like, dude, I love pulling the trigger, man. Don't get me wrong. I love being able to kill my own animal and everything, but they're so rewarding taking dudes out, showing them, the ropes, like teaching them what to get them on an animal. And it was, dude, 5 animals in like a day and a half, right, Barry?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was
Yeah.
we had basically a long weekend to hunt that trip. We had a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we hunted Friday evening and all day Saturday for the most part. And by the time Sunday rolled around, we already had 5 animals in the dirt. So
Yep.
it was awesome. And Carter, I would normally, in most cases, agree with you. It is so much fun. It's so rewarding. It is almost my new favorite thing. But dude, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just because it's something I've dreamed about for my entire life. But killing that first animal on your own piece of property, your own piece of hunting ground. Oh man. And those two things, we took those guys out, and then like it was maybe 2 weeks later that I was able to actually have success on my piece of property. So I went out there. I'll tell the story real quick. It's not a long story, but my buddy helped me hang this ladder stand, and it's a good spot up on a ridge. It's steep, so it kind of falls off on one side and falls off on the other side, and it's kind of on one ridge, and then about 100 yards away, you can kind of see the top of another, kind of these two hardwood ridges. And got in there early, and was just wanting to see what I could see. Hadn't been up in that little corner of the woods yet, at least not with a rifle in my hands. It was gun season at this point in North Carolina. And so had a little button buck come in like right at shooting light, and this little deer walked like right up to me, basically like 15 yards from my stand. Had no clue that I was there. Yeah. It was a picture perfect, cool or cold. I mean, it was cold that morning, cold, just fall sunrise. And here's this little button buck standing right at my stand, and I'm like, I can't shoot this deer. He was right there. I mean, he was almost begging for it. But I was like, this can't be the first one that I kill on my property. So I let him go, and about an hour passes, and nothing's happening. It's pretty quiet. Not hearing anything, not seeing anything. But I'm just enjoying it, man. I'm just enjoying being out there and kind of soaking it all in. And sure enough, I catch movement up on the top of the ridge in front of me, about 100 yards out, and a split second after I saw the initial movement, I saw what I was, with my naked eye, what was almost assuredly the gleam of sunlight on antlers. And of course, I got dude, I got buck fever like I haven't had, in a long time, really.
Yeah.
Didn't even know what it was. And so I throw on my binos, and sure enough, I see antlers, and looks like a decent sized body deer. And he's kind of meandering down towards me. And as he's working towards me, I'm watching him through the binos, and I see 3 on one side and 4 on the other. And I can for sure count 7. And that's all I can really clearly see through the binos. But I'm like, dude, he's a 7. He's not a, year and a half year old deer. I don't know how old he is. He gets closer. I start to see he's got decent mass. He's not super tall tines or anything. But as he starts to come into view, I'm like, if this deer gives me a shot, he's the one. He's going down. I was just, excited for a 7-pointer like I haven't been, since I was a kid. So he almost winded up following the same path that button buck had, and got very close. He steps out. He's coming kind of towards me, and he steps out of this little kind of thick patch of shrubs and small trees and so forth, and probably 30 yards, and I throw up on him, and I tried to get him to stop like 2 or 3 times. Now, meh, and he's walking, meh, and he won't stop. And I'm like, meh. And he finally stops, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta take a shot quick here. And so I throw my gun up and squeeze off a shot. And I guess I was excited, and it didn't feel great. I wasn't. I must have pulled it, and dude, I just shot right over him,
Oh my
and
gosh.
just a clean miss. I mean, I was just, and he didn't. He turned tail and ran right back the way he came. And I was like, son of a bitch! I just blew it. I just totally blew it on this deer that was like 30, maybe 35 yards away. And he went back up the ridge that he had come from in that direction, and then he turned right. And as he's on the same trajectory, just kind of at a little bit down from the top of the ridge, I can see him kind of walking from my left to my right. And there's a little gap here and there's a little gap there. But he's spooked because I, shot right over top of his back and completely missed. He's not running, but he's definitely on edge. And at one little spot, he hit a little gap, and I was like, maybe I can get a shot here. Nothing. Then I look, and there's on the same trajectory that he's walking, there's a nice little shooting lane, a nice little gap there through the woods. I'm like, if he gets there and I can stop him again, I can take my time and get set up. So I got the gun up, got ready on that gap through the trees. He hits it perfectly, perfectly broadside, maybe a slight quarter away, but just great shot opportunity. Hit him with the mant again, super loud, and he stopped that time. Took my time, took a breath. I'm like, all right, you're not screwing this up twice. And shot him, and dude rolled down the hill. Didn't stop 20 yards from where he was when I shot. And he's just laying there, and I can see a trail of bright, long blood all the way down the hill. The sun's hitting it perfectly. I can see his antlers sticking up. The sun's shining on him. And it was a special moment, man. It was, like I said, it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. And all love for taking out new hunters. But in that moment, man, I was, I had all the giddiness, all the selfish giddiness of that first time hunter myself.
Absolutely, dude. You can't beat it, man. It's special, dude, and it's especially with how expensive things are now and land and everything, and there's a lot that goes into it when you're the landowner and it's yours and you're the steward of that piece of land now, and it's special, dude. I only shot 2 bucks on our farm that we sold this year. A lot smaller than yours, but we had good deer. But the first buck that was killed at my place was that goofy little,
yeah,
whatever it is. And my buddy Tim, who helped me with a ton of the work there when we moved in, we were hunting together, and I was like, "You want to shoot that buck?" "I'm not going to." And he's like, "Yeah, I want to shoot it." I was like, "Shoot it, dude." I was like, "But I want to keep the skull, right? Because it's the first deer off my property." And he's like, "Fine." Shot it, smoked it, kept it, and then I think it took me 2 years before I decided to pull the trigger, and I killed that one there. And it was the first article I wrote for HLE on the blog. And
I remember that,
dude. There's just like, there's nothing like it, man.
No, I told my wife, after we closed on the place, and I was like, my goal for this season is now to kill a deer over, out here. And I'm like, if I would have been thrilled to kill a doe. I was like, if I see a buck and it gets me excited, I wasn't going to shoot a button head. But I was like, my standards are going to be far, far lower than they would otherwise. I've got the rest of my life to hunt this place. I'm going to manage it. I'm going to, if something trips my trigger, then he's going to be in danger, assuming I don't, screw up the shot like that first one. But I remember that article you wrote and reading that, and it's, if you have that kind of sentimental connection to land, like I know you do, and I do, it's I highly recommend. If for those of you out there that are thinking about that for yourselves, 10 out of 10 would recommend. It's worth it.
One of these days, I got to stop moving first.
Yeah, well, that helps.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that was definitely a highlight. Taking the new hunters was a highlight. The other highlight, I guess, real quick of my season, Carter, was um, taking my boy out. I took him out several times this year. He hunted with me more this year than he ever has. He's 9 years old now. He's all about it, man. He's ate up with it. He loves all things hunting, fishing. You know, we were out at the property I was doing some chainsaw work, and he was piling brush for me. You know, he's all about it, which I love. So trying to foster that as much as I can. So had him with me more this time or this year than I have in the past. Took my daughter out a time or two as well. She's not quite as enthusiastic. She's a little younger, and she gets a little antsier, and she gets colder a little bit quicker than he does. But I've talked about some of the properties on this land trust that I got hooked up with years ago that I've hunted in the past. So I drew a lottery entry for one of these land trust properties that's about an hour away from my house or so, and had a free Saturday a few weeks ago, right before Christmas, and told my wife I was going to take my son out there, and we were going to spend the day hunting. It was going to be, pretty cold, probably mid-30s, was the high that day. I was like, I'm going to carry the deer rifle and let him carry his 410. And he loves squirrel hunting, man. He's obsessed with squirrels. So I'm like, I'm going to let him carry his own gun, and we'll see how he does. And he can carry the 410. I'll carry the deer rifle, and we'll see what we can get. So took him out there. We got up early, drove out there, packed snacks, packed lunch, and I was like, here's the deal. We can hunt as long as you want to. We've got all day to hunt out here. No other family obligations or anything. I'm like, it's going to be cold, but we got plenty of warm clothes. We can always walk back to the truck if we need to and warm up, eat lunch or whatever. But I was like, look, I'm carrying my gun. You got to carry your gun. You got to carry your bag. And he's like, okay, that's cool. I'll carry my stuff. So, dude, we hunted for 8 hours that day, and we walked probably somewhere between 10 and 12,000 steps. I mean, it wasn't like, I don't want to say like it was a hard hunt, because it was just a lot of, stopping and sitting for 30 or 45 minutes, maybe an hour at the most, and then walking to the next spot, looking for squirrels and looking for deer. But dude, 8 hours, 10,000+ steps. He carried his gun the whole day. He carried his bag. He carried all his snacks and his water. And he wound up shooting his first squirrel by himself with his 410.
Heck yeah.
That was a proud dad moment, man. So, we only killed one critter that day, and it was a squirrel, but it was absolutely one of the highlights of my season. Again, you fathers out there, we've talked about this. I'm not going to go into it all, but if your kid shows the interest and you can foster that, don't beat him over the head with it. You don't want to burn him out. And I told him, look, we can head back to the truck whenever, we don't have to be out here all day. But the pride on his face when he shot that squirrel and it came tumbling out of the tree, and I was like, go get it. And he runs up there and he grabs a squirrel, and he's got a squirrel in one hand and his gun in the other. And those are special moments too. So yeah, get your kids out there. It is a different kind of rewarding. It goes back to taking those first time hunters, and when it's your own son or your own daughter, it's extra special. So that's kind of the wave tops of my season, man. It was, like I said, it was relatively quiet, close to home, but it was fun.
Did the boys and the dad get deer when y'all were guiding them?
Yeah,
Dad
sure did. Yeah, Dad wound up killing a doe that trip. He didn't kill a buck.
Pretty old doe too.
Oh yeah, she was a big old gal.
Yeah,
Was that
both boys killed a buck and a doe?
Yep. That was pretty cool. Did he? How did he react?
So Luke was with him, right, Kerri?
Yeah.
So Luke took him, and they'd kind of gone through some, different kind of different tactics, and it was kind of I don't want to say it was a spot and stalk, but I think it kind of was, which
Yeah,
doesn't often happen for whitetail. But the way Luke's family farm lays out, it lays out pretty well. There's some high ridges that you can glass anyway. They pretty sure they saw the deer and kind of planned an approach and stalked up on it. And from what I understand, he made a great shot. He was stoked, man.
Yeah, it was so Evan was able to see where they were, and he was seeing deer. He was glassing deer up, and so he was texting Luke, because Luke was in the area but couldn't see where the deer were. So he was texting Luke about basically guiding him in. So Luke got his dude out, put a plan into action, and yeah, dude came out, shot a really nice old doe. Me and Evan were back cutting up that the first buck, man. We didn't even make it to the stand, dude. We were driving to the stand on our four-wheelers, and all of a sudden Evan throws his hand up. I'm behind him, so I come to a stop on the four-wheeler, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just gonna sit right here for a while. He gets the kid out, and they go kind of sneaking up, and they lay down in the prone. I can't see what's going on. There's a kind of a ridge kind of blocking us, right? So I can see Evan, but I can't see what they're looking at. And he's got the kid, he throws a pack down. He's laying behind the pack. Evan's glassing down his knee beside him. And all of a sudden, I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. He didn't even make it to the stand. So we go up there, and it was a nice little 8-point. What an 8-point?
Yeah, it was. It was probably
really good shot. Yeah.
That's cool.
Symmetrical. Awesome first deer.
Wow. First deer, 8-point.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I was taking the other boy. We were on the way to our stand. And we were kind of up on a ridge, and they were down below us. And I'm driving on our four-wheeler. And I look down, and I see them stopped and get off. And like Kerri said, they get down on the prone, and I told the kid that I had, I was like, we're going to stop right here. We're not driving anywhere. We're just going to sit here and watch. So he threw up the binos, and then I gave the binos to him. I was like, watch your brother. He might be getting ready to torch off on a deer here. We couldn't, same as Kerri, we couldn't see what it was. We just saw them getting ready, and same thing. We heard the shot and drove down there, and yeah, this is an awesome first deer.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then his second deer, he didn't make it to the stand either, didn't he? Wasn't his second deer something similar?
I can't remember, honestly, Kerri, but dude, that's par for the course with Evan.
Yeah. Evan's got a lucky horseshoe, like just rammed up his ass, man.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how he does it.
We've been saying that for years.
When it comes to deer, Evan's the dude you want to be near.
And turkeys.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah, that was a good time. And then the kid with you shot 2 in one day, right?
Yeah, so it was slow for us. We honestly didn't have a ton of action, and it was cold, man. And he, like I said, these boys, they've never done it before, right? And they had good gear and everything, but sitting out there in a metal ladder stand in 25-degree weather with the wind whipping, which it was windy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an easy first hunt. So, but I was just trying to, stay in his ear and say, look, man, things can happen fast, stay positive. We just weren't having a ton of action. And, sure enough, one evening we kind of switched, went to a different spot, set up in a pop-up blind, down in the river bottom. And I was like, this is a fantastic spot in the evening. You never know. And he asked me, actually, we were sitting there, and he was like, what happens if you shoot one deer, but then, another one comes out? I'm like, well, I mean, it depends on the state, right? Like, every state has different rules. But here where we're hunting, you can kill 2 deer in one day. And so, if it's, if you got 2 tags and you can use them in the same day, I'm like, yeah, you can kill 2 deer. It happens all the time. I've done it plenty of times. Well, the kid fell asleep. He was tired. And I look over at one point, and he's sitting there like napping in the blind. And I let him nap for a little while. We weren't seeing anything yet. And sure enough, he wakes up, and he hadn't been awake for literally 2 minutes. And a buck comes out, and he winds up smoking this buck, made a great shot, probably 100 yards. And it's like, let's just hang tight. Let's just watch. The buck kind of went up in the woods, and it was dead. It was just, it didn't die instantly. It took a few minutes for it to die. And so we're just watching it in the binos. I'm like, let's just hang tight. We'll watch it. We'll see what happens. And sure enough, not 5 minutes after he had shot that buck, here comes a doe, and she comes right down, feeds right in front of us. Not a care in the world. She looked up at one point and kind of saw the buck up there on the hill, but she's like, whatever, that's life. These things happen. and, she gets broadside. And the kid looks at me. He's like, "Can I shoot her?" I'm like, "Hell yeah!" I'm like, "Shoot her, man." I'm like, if you want to double up, let's double up. So sure enough, she turns broadside. He torched off on her. She didn't go 20 yards. I'm like, "See, I told you."
Anything
can happen fast. Yeah.
That's freaking awesome, man.
Yep.
What a cool experience.
It was good. You get to teach a butchering class and, skinning class, butchering class, all that. And I remember I didn't even get through my little class. Remember, I was like, all right, here's some of the cuts of meat. I was like, you make steaks off of this. And I showed them the steaks. They took the steaks, immediately ran to the grill, started grilling them, and just completely disregarded the rest of class. We're like, all right, we're done.
We got steaks.
Yeah. That was a great time. It's cold though.
Yeah.
Man, was it cold. That wind was just ripping. Remember one time I'm up in the stand with the dad, and I was shivering so bad I couldn't stop it, man. I was like, I gotta be tough, man. So flex a little bit and you stop shivering for like a second and then you just pick it back up. I was like, dude, I'm gonna shiver this stand right off the tree. That wind was ripping. That was good, man.
Cold trip, but it was awesome.
Yeah. I got to hang out with the Eisner boys and
always
all that. Yep, I got kicked by a cow.
Yeah, there you go. Full Appalachian experience, brother.
Yeah.
That's right, man.
Not as spry as I once was. I couldn't get out of the way fast enough.
That's awesome, man. I was fortunate enough. I think I had the best season I've ever had this year. And I also got to spend some time up there with Perry and Evan and do some hunting of my own at y'all's family farm, which was awesome. I had the best season I've ever had because I got to kill 2 really good bucks and got to kill that elk. But I went full archery this year, which was new. It's usually it gets me in the woods a month earlier than everybody else in Georgia, and decided to go all in on it. Yeah, but I also had some of the best sits that I've ever had. It really felt like a season where I finally started putting a lot of puzzle pieces together and really capitalized on, my knowledge of deer movement and deer behavior, which was really cool and really rewarding once you kind of figure that out. When you start seeing a lot more, I mean, we're in Georgia, right? There's deer everywhere. In the Southeast, there's deer everywhere, right? It's hard to go up to Virginia and go to Luke's farm or Peach Bottom and you're going to see deer, right?
Okay.
But when you're in killable opportunities time and time again, you're like, okay, I'm starting to get this figured out. And I had some of the best sits I've ever had this season. And I tagged out real early and kept hunting a lot. I have a buddy, 2 buddies who were trying to get deer, and I have permission on the land. And so I was hunting a lot with them with no intention of killing anything, but still working the puzzle and setting different type of sets with hang-on stands and things, and reworking properties I've been hunting for 10 years in a way that I haven't hunted before, which really paid off a lot, which was really cool. I was like, thank God, this is finally starting to make sense, which was cool. One of the best sits I've ever had was at Peach Bottom when I was with you guys for that weekend, Perry. I hunted up at the Horse Bones stand.
Yep.
I saw 23 deer that morning, man. And we got out of the stand at 10. And it was awesome, right? It was just it was the best. I shot a doe right at first light at whatever it was, 6:32. There were a herd of them came streaming off the mountain, and I was like, big nanny right in the front, right? Smoked her. She fell over, and then we just kept seeing deer all day. Saw that really cool buck. I forget what you call him up there with the mess. I think Evan calls him the goofy buck or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, goofy.
Just playing with them with a grunt call and playing with some younger bucks and things like that. And it was just awesome, man. It was so cool. And I had a couple more sits like that here in Georgia where the puzzle pieces aligned. And I was like, all right, maybe I'm not terrible at this. This is cool. This is all right.
There's a lot to be said for what what bow hunting does. Just like you're saying, like putting those puzzle pieces together.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it. I didn't grow up bow hunting, but the reality is a lot of the times it's not that challenging to kill a whitetail with a rifle from 200 yards away, right? Like you don't have to be super dialed into deer behavior, how to read the terrain, how they use their landscape and their habitat. Like those things help, obviously, but once you make that commitment to bow hunt, and you gotta be 40 yards and in, it changes everything, and it really does give you that perspective, and it kind of forces you to up your game a little bit. I think that's a very kind of underrated aspect of bow hunting.
Definitely.
That I've really, personally enjoyed, and I know you experienced a lot of that this year, Carter.
Definitely. Bow hunting's still stupid. I still hate it, but but like I get it. Like I understand it now. I'm like, all right, this is kind of cool when it works out. It doesn't work out. It's devastating though. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But I killed both my bucks this year. We get 2 buck tags in Georgia. One has to be at least 4 points or better on one side, or a 15-inch spread. And I killed both mine on public this year. So first buck with a bow, who's this one right here, actually. I just got it finished up, but first buck with a bow, and
dude, that's awesome.
On public in a new spot, just kind of working the problem kind of thing. Finally panned out, shot him at 35 yards, and he died within eyesight, which is always way cool because after you rip an arrow, my anxiety flies to 100 instantly, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what went wrong? And so it's always nice when they go down within eyesight. He went 20 feet. I mean, smoked him, right? And went 20 feet, and he was down, which was awesome. That was another first experience, and I've been hunting for a decade now, and that was cool to have another first, And then drew one of these island hunts on the lake here. The DNR puts on, I guess they're depredation or controlled hunts in different zones around the lake, so they're only accessible by boat. So you have to go in by boat, and I've talked about it on previous podcasts, but went in there with a buddy. We both drew together, and it's public, and took my little shitty bass boat in there at freaking 4 a.m. or whatever. It's freezing cold, pitch black, driving a boat on the lake. This lake is like super dangerous too, anyways, because there's idiots everywhere and super overcrowded. Get to the island, start going up to where I scouted, and there's just lights everywhere, dudes in trees everywhere. Like, oh my gosh, this is so stupid. Like, why did I freaking get up and hook the boat up and go to the ramp and drive all the way here and see, this is so dumb. Climb up a tree. Eventually I'm like, fuck it, there's lights everywhere. It's so stupid. This is the dumbest thing I've ever done. Climb up to a ridge, find a straight-ish tree. I'm using a white light at this point. Like, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm like, this is a disaster. And then I'm using my climbing ladder to climb up, and using a climber in the dark is stupid, and bow hunting's stupid, and this whole thing is stupid. I hate this. And I'm climbing up, and then I finally get settled after making the most racket possible, and I drop my bow out of my stand.
Oh no.
From 20 feet up, 25 feet up. I'm like, I hate this so much. I'm going to go sit in the boat and sleep while John hunts. Go back down, get my bow. I don't know where my arrow is. Climb back up, drop my phone. My phone falls out of my pocket. It's a disaster, man. And then I sit there and I calm down, and within an hour, this nice 8-pointer comes down the draw through the bowl and comes up my ridge, 21 yards broadside to me. I'm like, son of a bitch, this is pretty cool. And I smoke him, and I can see all the other dummies in their trees watching me, surrounding this bowl. There's 4 other dudes. And I'm like, you guys, should have sat over here. Flap. And he runs 30 yards and dies under my buddy, who I can, is literally less than 50 yards from me, because we were both we don't know. This is plan E of places to sit, and he dies under his stand. And I was like, bow hunting's pretty cool. I'm back in. This is sweet.
I'm back, baby.
I'm back, dude. I'm back. So it was good. It was good. Really good season. Hunting on public is hunting on public, and highs and lows and pros and cons, and it was cool. Cool to do it different.
Yeah, I mean, bow hunting's heartbreak after heartbreak, but when it works out, it's awesome.
Yeah. That's how they keep getting you.
Yeah. No, I had an okay season. I had pretty big heartbreak as well, but I had an okay season for myself this year. But I had a great season guiding other people.
Yeah,
so I did
opportunity.
Yeah, so I did the majority of what I did this season was guiding other people. I hunted for myself a little bit here in Kentucky. Killed a small little buck and a doe here, and then I killed, but I did not recover a really good buck in Iowa. That was pretty heartbreaking. 35 yards. Get a little spooky. I had a decoy out. Buddy of mine was grunting at him, had a decoy out. He was getting a little spooky coming up, and he gave me a really nice frontal. He picked his head up, and I was like, I'm going to shoot him, right in the chest, basically.
With a gun?
Made a great shot. What's that?
Gun or bow?
Bow.
Okay.
Bow, yeah, 35 yard, basically in the throats where I shot him, doing a frontal shot. And I got impatient, man. I was like, dude, he's done, dude. There's blood everywhere. He's done. Let's go get him. Let's go get him. And so we tracked him for a little while. We gave him a little bit, probably about, 45 minutes to an hour before we actually started trying to track blood. But we tracked him for about 3.5 hours and actually bumped him. Bumped him out of his bed. And he kind of hobbled off. He was definitely dying, like not moving well. But we're like, hey, we don't want to push him onto somebody else's property. Let's back out. And so we backed out. And as soon as we backed out of the woods, dude, it started to rain. We lost the blood trail. Grid searched the entire area that we were hunting in. Just never recovered. The dude's dead. He's out there. And it was at least a 135, if not 140 or better deer. So that was a pretty big heartbreak. The 2 deer I killed here is not a whole lot to talk about. I mean, small little buck with my bow, early October. And then I think it was right before I went to see you guys in Virginia. I shot a pretty good old doe. I was actually with a teammate. It's not a super active teammate, but a teammate hunting on his property. He wanted to film it. And so we're sitting in a blind. He's got his camera set up and he's got, hey, deer coming in. I was like, got it. He goes, man, that first one, that's an old doe. He's like, take that old doe. When you tell me to go ahead and take something, I'm just going to squeeze the trigger, right? And I'm like, got a shot. Bang. Well, apparently he was going to tell me when to shoot, but didn't tell me he was going to tell me when to shoot. And so he didn't hit record on didn't hit record on the camera, wasn't wearing ear pro, didn't plug his ear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a pretty gnarly muzzle break on my 6.5. It's loud. He was not having a good time after that, but made a good shot. She died within 20 yards. Good old doe. And I've got a freezer full of meat. I've got bear meat from when I guided in Alaska. My client didn't want that. I've got those 2 whitetail that I killed in there. One's from Kentucky, and then I decided not to shoot a deer in Virginia. Because I am moving this summer and I don't want to have too much meat that just in case I can't go through it all before I move. So I decided not to shoot one in Virginia. I had an opportunity on one, but we couldn't 100% be sure if it was a doe and not a button. I don't know if you remember that, Perry.
Yeah.
That morning. So I decided not to take that one. But then I headed to Texas, man. And dude, you want to talk about memorable hunts. So I go down to Texas every year as part of a special operations hunt, an annual special operations hunt that I've been doing for 4 years now. I was a participant going down there doing the hunt, and now I'm going down helping to guide. A lot of them were my former coworkers. Some of them are newer SF guys or special operations guys from around the regiment or wherever. But I got to bring my old medic. That was actually the medic when I got hurt from that fall in Iraq. I don't know if I told you guys. But I got hurt in Iraq and I was pretending to be my own medic, but I was doing telemed with him. So I had an aid station. So I'm on the phone with him. He's on the other side of the country. And he's like, yeah, man, this is what you need to do. He's like, all right, walk in your aid station. He's like, yep, FaceTime me. All right, look at the drug. Yep, that's the drug you need. That kind of stuff. But he'd never hunted before, and so I got him down there to Texas with us, man. And very first morning of the hunt, I have him sit with me, and right before the sun comes up, a group of hogs comes out, and I was like, "Dude, can you see him through the scope?" And he's like, "Yep." I was like, "Then shoot, fucking murder them all." So he smokes this hog, and then he's like, "What now?" And I was like, "Well, just wait." I was like, he had a can on, so I'm like, I'm not worried about it spooking other critters. And I was like, we were looking for awdads, axis deer, axis does at that point. It was awdads, axis does, hogs, and I can't remember what else we were hunting for at that particular time, because it kind of changed as the week went on. And then a monstrous, almost 200-pound, just gnarly hog comes out, and there's a Sika buck out there, right? And this hog, and he's trying to feed off of a protein feeder, and this hog is just pushing this Sika buck around, just not letting him feed, right? I'm like, Sika bucks are cool, hogs are not. So I was like, dude, as soon as that hog is clear of that buck, man, you take it. I was like, right behind the ear, dude, right behind the ear. Bam, sure enough, dude, he smokes his second animal ever in his life. Both his animals that he'd ever shot in his life were sitting with me, man. So I thought that was, like my son's probably never going to hunt like yours, Perry, but I can imagine that it was a close to that kind of feeling that you had, man.
Oh yeah.
I was like, here's one of my best buds, did a lot for me on a team. We did a lot together, and I got him on his very first animal. So that was awesome. And then the whole rest of the week, man, so I was working with Mike from Project Savior. You guys, the blue collar brawler guy, the dude that wrestles alligators on Instagram.
Yeah.
But it was him and I that were guiding this certain part of the ranch, because the ranch is split up into 3 pastures, right? And it's high fence, but the one pasture we were at is all exotic animals. There's no whitetail there at all. But certain animals were killable, right? Or allowed to be killed. And then certain animals were part of a competition. So like if you wanted a trophy animal, you had to participate in a competition and earn enough points or whatever to be able to hunt that trophy animal. And so that was me and Mike's job, was to help them get on the animal. And because there's so many different types out there, being able to identify which one's the shooters. I mean, even within, say you've got a herd of fallow bucks or a herd of fallow deer out there, like only a couple of them are shooters, that kind of stuff. So that was like me and Mike's kind of job with that. But dude, it was awesome getting guys that have been doing things for this country that people will never hear about, just rowing hard, doing the work, right? And just being able to come back and then see animals that they may never see in their entire life anywhere else. And not only see them and watch them and be able to learn all this animal behavior, all this cool stuff they're doing, but then to be able to take an animal that they'll never get to hunt anywhere else in their life,
Yeah.
So that was just, I had more fun on that trip than I did the previous 3 years where I was the one shooting those weird critters. You know what I mean? But I only had one guy. So out of this whole hunting season and, guiding in Alaska, helping the guide there in Virginia with Perry, and then guiding in Texas, I only had 2 guys not kill what they were looking for. That was that first client in Alaska. He was looking for a grizzly and we just couldn't find him one. And then one of the guys in Texas didn't kill. He was it was part of that competition I talked about. He was going after a specific fallow bucks. There were certain fallows out there, and some were shooters, some were not. And he was going after a specific one. And we got him on that one like 2 days prior to the competition ending. So he wasn't a shooter yet. So when the competition came around, he got to pick what animal he wanted because he had gotten so high in the competition. He's like, I want that fallow buck that we saw. And I was like, dude, that's what I would go for too. And so, we get him on that fallow buck on the last day of the hunt, man. That sucker had dropped its horns.
Oh,
yeah.
Both of them?
Both of them. Yeah. So all you see is these little, like, kind of bloody looking nubs. Yeah.
Damn.
And I'm like, well,
you can still shoot him, but
I was like, your call. He's like, no. Now, I probably would have shot him if we could find
the sheds. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you could find the sheds, I may still have done. I don't know. But he's like, yeah, I'm gonna pass on that one. I was like, yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's kind of an average season for me. Nothing spectacular as far as like what I'm going after. In fact, I'm still trying to hunt, but again, I've got enough meat in the freezer that I've got to move this summer, so I'm not super hard up about it. I just like being in the woods and like being in the woods with a bow in my hand. But dude, this just guiding and helping these guys get on these animals was just some of the most amazing times that I've ever had, dude. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's
Very much enjoy it.
I mean, we've beat this horse, but it bears repeating because it really is a different experience than when you're the one behind the trigger. And it's funny because, like, for me at least, I don't know about you, Kerri. For me at least, I I don't consider myself a trigger happy type of hunter. Like I've passed on a lot of deer in my life. I've killed a couple of decent bucks, and it's kind of always been my goal to keep up in that ante for the animals that I want to take, at least when it comes to bucks. But I've killed a lot of does, and I always you love it, right? Like I don't know, there's a certain satisfaction that comes from the whole process. And if you had told me prior to having the opportunity to take my son out or take other new hunters out that it can be, more rewarding in a lot of ways to not be the one behind the trigger. It's like one of those things that I don't know that I would have been able to truly comprehend until you actually do it.
Yeah, I mean, and it also depends on the client too, right? So like or whatever you want to call him. Like if I was going to go hunt with Evan and he's the one pulling the trigger, it's not going to be as rewarding to me.
Well, that's true. Yeah, because Evan sucks. Evan kills enough shit on his own.
Well, yeah, man, like taking dudes out that are newer or less experienced. Not that I'm super experienced, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I am way more patient as a guy than I am a hunter myself. Because you talk about not being a trigger happy hunter. I'm like, is that legal? That's legal. Yeah, I'm gonna take it. That's me as a hunter, but as a guide, I'm like, hey man, like that's legal, but I would totally wait. There may be something better coming out. You got time or whatever. You know what I mean? Much more patient as a guide.
Yeah.
I'm taking some coworkers, some fellow teachers down to Florida this weekend. We're leaving Friday morning to go down to our friend Matt Cates at Triple M Outfitters.
Oh yeah.
To go shoot some hogs this weekend. And they're two of them are bringing their sons. So we're going to have 3 high school boys down there for their first hunt. And it's a great hunt for your kind of first foray into killing animals. Matt runs a great operation down there, and I'm certainly not guiding by any means, but they're going to have a cool experience riding in a freaking swamp buggy and shooting as many hogs as they want. And you get to pull the trigger. You pretty good chance of success there if they can shoot straight, and it'll be a good opportunity for them to get their hands dirty and clean some animals and, learn where their food's coming from. And they're from Johns Creek in Alpharetta area, suburb of Atlanta. So this will be a whole new world for them, which will be really cool.
Oh, yeah.
What a cool first hunt, man. For like, not only you learn a lot, but like you're going to be working on it. Like an animal that might be easier to kill in some senses, but when it comes to processing and all that stuff, like it's a much harder animal than a deer. So like if you can learn on a hog and then go do the same on a deer, I think you're much better off. Like that guy, my old medic, man, that shot that hog, I worked with him to kind of process his whole hog. And then he went out and smoked a monstrous whitetail just a few days later. And he was able to, like, I just kind of stood back and I'm like, yeah, man, you remember what you're doing? Kind of gave him some pointers and watched him do that. And then his brother killed a wildebeest. And so those two working together, and again, just sat back and I'm like, yep, I'm watching them do it. And I mean, I helped out a little bit, but like kind of just giving them pointers and guiding because they learned on that hog, that first one.
Yeah.
And that hog, especially trying to skin a hog, dude, that's a chore.
Yeah. Bring a knife sharpener for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be good, man. Hope we put a lot on the ground. It's dangerous down there. You pay by the hog, and you can run up when I went down there the first time, I was like, whoa. I was like, Cole, do some quick math. Where are we at? And he was like, 650. I was like, Jesus Christ, take my gun away from me.
Yeah, especially if that's your first time. And every new hunter gets a little trigger happy, like, a target rich environment.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. It was a good season. Like you said, Perry, gears are already turning for next season already.
Oh yeah. We got to make this mule deer hunt happen.
Yeah.
I think that's next on my list is check off that first mule deer hunt. I've heard y'all talk about it enough. I want to get out there.
They're my favorite animal by far. And I talked to our friend Sam Seaton, who runs Infinite Outdoors, and he had some good news for us. I talked to him on Christmas. He had some good news for us on a piece of property that I think we're going to be able to go hunt. So
that's awesome. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, one of these days I'm gonna get out there. Well, I'm moving to Texas, so I get to figure out a whole new chunk of public land and all that stuff once I move down there. And then I got to figure out what's going on with Alaska and when I'm going back up there and how long and all that. But I'm hoping because I'll be quite a bit closer to where Luke's at once I move, so maybe get out there and do some late season stuff. But I'll be guiding a lot more next year too, down at that same ranch with Project Savior, and then of course that soft hunt too. So I don't know, man. I have a habit of overextending myself and doing all these crazy adventures, but I mean, life of a professional venturer, right? So
adventure, right?
Hey, you earned that right, Kerri. So dude, take advantage of it, man.
That's what I tell myself when I'm like, nah, I probably shouldn't. I'm like, nope, I totally earned this.
Yeah.
I just
get after it.
I didn't earn it. I just lucked into it, man. I had one of the guys the other day was talking about how he was beat up too. He's like, well, you know, not like how you do. He's like, listen, man, all I did was fuck around and find out way too many times. There's nothing cool about this.
You get some good stories out of it, at least.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you guys got planned for next year?
I'd like for this mule deer hunt to happen, and I would really like
Same.
I would really like to go to Sweden, Kerri. I know you're moving. I don't know if you'll have the bandwidth to this year, but that's worth pursuing for me. He wants to go
let's look into
and he wants to come here. He wants to kill an alligator real bad, so we'll take him down to Triple M and let him shoot as big of an alligator as he wants, and then we'll bring him up and we can get him a turkey and a white-tailed deer super easy.
Yeah, let's look in the springtime to going out there, man. Let's see if we can't plan something. I think I need to renew my passport here soon.
You'll need one of those for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I just need time. I need more time. I want to hunt. We keep talking to all these cool people on the podcast, and like everybody's so generous, and it's like, come hunt anytime. And I want to cash in on everything. I just want to go hunt with everybody everywhere.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, man. I'm trying to go hunt everywhere that I can. I see. My goal is to find out what every critter tastes like. You know, and not just like going to a restaurant. Like I want to kill and eat every critter that's edible.
That's a good
goal.
goal.
See what it tastes like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that I think I did earn. I married a vegan, right? So I dealt with that for a while. I think I paid my dues. I deserve to go eat every animal I can.
Dude, I don't know how you did it, man.
Served your pets.
Yeah.
There's a reason that's an ex-wife. Yeah.
That's a good goal, man. Yeah, it'll be a good year, man. Looking forward to some good podcasts this 2025. I guess we're still doing this, so stand by for more episodes, everybody.
That's right.
You guys got any closing thoughts to round us out here?
Man, it was sounds like it was a season of a lot of firsts for all of us and a lot of good rewarding trips. I know you've been wanting to scratch that itch for your elk out there, Carter and Kerri, talking about the guiding and the fulfillment for that. For me, it was you know, kind of starting the chapter of the next chapter in life, pursuing that lifelong dream. So, man, very grateful. It was a blast hanging out with you guys this season, as always, and looking forward to 25 and beyond. Let's go chase some more critters. Let's go see what they taste like, Kerri.
Yeah, man. Let's do this. Yeah, I'm looking forward to 25, man. And for the listeners, as you're thinking of podcast topics or guests and you're sending them to Carter on the Instagram page, man, send us some of your stuff about first. Or, you know, did you take your brother out and get his first deer or whatever? You know what I mean? I'd love to see those too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I get more pumped about those, man, than my own deer.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
Hell yeah. Cool. I appreciate it, fellas. Looking forward to when we can all share camp together this year. And listeners, as always, appreciate the hell out of you guys. Like Kerri said, let us know what you got going on. Let us know what you want to hear. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you next week.